Chapter 12. I'm not giving up. So maybe my first meeting with Jess didn't go quite as I planned. But this weekend will be better. I just know it will. I mean, in hindsight, the first meeting was bound to be a bit awkward. But this time we'll have gotten through that first hurdle and we'll be far more relaxed and easy with each other. Plus, I'm far more prepared than I was last time. After Jess left on Saturday, Mom and Dad could see I was a bit down, so they made a pot of tea, and we had a good old chat. And we all agreed it's impossible to get on with someone straight away if you don't know anything about her. So Mom and Dad racked their brains for all the details they knew about Jess and wrote them all down. And I've been learning them all week. Like, for instance, she did 9 GCSE exams and got A's in all of them. She never eats avocados. As well as caving and walking, she does something called potholing. She likes poetry, and her favorite dog is fuck. I grabbed the crib sheet and scanned down. Oh yes, a border collie. It's Friday morning, and I'm out in our spare room making my final preparations for Jess's arrival. I bought a book this week called The Gracious Hostess, and it said the guest room should be well thought out with little individual touches to make your guests feel welcome. So on the dressing table are flowers and a book of poetry. And by the bed, I've put a careful selection of magazines. Rambling News, Caving Enthusiast, and Potholing Monthly, which is a magazine you can order only on the internet. Parentheses, I had to take out a 2-year subscription, actually, just to get a copy. But that's alright. I can just forward the other 23 copies to Jess. Close parentheses. And on the wall is my piece de resistance, which I am so proud of. It's an enormous poster of a cave with stalagmite things. I fluff up the pillows, anticipating the weekend. Tonight will be totally different from last time. For a start, we won't go near any shops. I've just planned a nice, simple, relaxed evening in. We can watch a movie and eat popcorn and do each other's nails and really chill. And then later on, I'll come and sit on her bed and we can wear matching pajamas and eat peppermint creams and talk long into the night. This all looks very nice, says Luke, coming in behind me. You've done a great job. In fact, the whole apartment looks amazing. He wanders out and I follow him into the hall. Although there are still a few boxes here and there, the whole place looks so much clearer. We walk into the sitting room, now utterly transformed. All the piles of rugs and boxes and crates have disappeared. There are just 2 sofas, 2 coffee tables, and the Indonesian gamelan. Hats off to you, Becky, says Luke, looking around. In fact, I owe you an apology. You told me you could make it all work, and I doubted you. But I never would have guessed so much clutter could be so well organized. He looks around the room incredulously. There were so many things in here. Where have they all gone? I've just found homes for them, I say brightly. Well, I'm really impressed, he says, running his hand over the mantelpiece, which is bare, except for the 5 hand-painted eggs. You should become a storage consultant. Maybe I will. Okay, I think I want to get off this subject now. Any minute, Luke's going to start looking a bit more closely and say something like, where are the Chinese urns? Or, where are the wooden giraffes? I'll just check my emails, I say casually. Why don't you make us some nice coffee? I wait until Luke's safely in the kitchen, then hurry to my computer and type in www.ebay.co.uk. eBay has totally saved my life. In fact, what did I ever do before eBay? It is the most brilliant, genius invention since whoever invented shops. The minute I got back from Mom's last Saturday, I joined and put up for sale the Chinese urns, the wooden giraffes, and 3 of the rugs. And in 3 days, they'd all been sold, just like that. So, the next day, I put up 5 more rugs and 2 coffee tables, and since then, I haven't stopped. I quickly click on items I'm selling, glancing at the door every so often. I mustn't be long or Luke will come in and see me, but I'm desperate to find out if anyone has bid on the totem pole. A moment later, the page appears, and yes, result. Someone's bid £50. I feel a hit of adrenaline and punch the air with a whoop. A quiet one so Luke won't hear. It's such a power kick selling stuff. I'm totally addicted. And the best thing of all is I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm solving our clutter problems, and I'm making money. Quite a lot of money, actually. I don't want to boast, but every single day this week I've made a profit. I'm just like a city bond trader. For example, I got £200 for the slate coffee table, and we certainly didn't pay more than $100 for it. I got £100 for the Chinese urns and £150 each for the 5 kilims, which only cost about £40 each in Turkey, if that. And best of all, I made a cool £2,000 on 10 Tiffany clocks I don't even remember buying. The guy even paid in cash and came to pick them up. Honestly, I'm doing so well I could make eBay trading my career. I can hear Luke getting mugs out in the kitchen, and I click off items I'm selling. Then very quickly I click on items I'm bidding on. Obviously, I joined eBay very much as a seller rather than a bidder. But I just happened to be browsing the other day when I came across this amazing orange vintage coat from the 50s with big black buttons. It's a total one-off, and no one had made a single bid on it. So I made a tiny exception just for that. And also for a pair of Prada shoes, which only had 1 bid on them for 50 quid. Prada shoes for 50 quid. And that fantastic Yves Saint Laurent evening dress, which some other bidder got in the end. Gosh, that was annoying. I won't make that mistake again. I click on the vintage coat, and I don't believe it. I bid £80 yesterday, which is the reserve price, and I've been trumped with £100. Well, I'm not losing this one, no way. I quickly type in £120 and close down just as Luke comes in with a tray. Any emails, he says? Some, I say brightly, and take a cup of coffee. Thanks. I haven't told Luke about the whole eBay thing because there's no need for him to get involved in every mundane detail of the household finances. I found these in the kitchen. Luke nods toward a tin of luxury Fortnum & Mason chocolate biscuits on the tray. Very nice. Just a little treat, I smile at him, and don't worry, it's all within the budget. Which is true. My budget is so much bigger now, I can afford a few luxuries. Luke takes a sip of coffee, then his eyes fall on a pink folder lying on his desk. What's this? I wondered when he was going to notice that. That's for you, I say casually, just a little thing I put together to help you. My ideas for the future of the company. It hit me in the bath the other day. If Luke wins this great big pitch, he's going to have to expand the company, and I know all about expansion. The reason is, when I was a personal shopper at Barney's, I had this client named Sherry who owned her own business. I heard the whole saga too fast and all the mistakes she made, like renting 6,000 square feet of office space in Tribeca, which she never used. I mean, at the time, I thought it was really boring. I actually dreaded her appointments, but now I realize it's all totally relevant to Luke. So I decided to write down everything she used to say, like consolidating your key markets and acquiring competitors. And that's when an even better idea came to me. Luke should buy up another PR firm. I even know which one he should buy. David Neville, who used to work for Farnham PR, set up his own firm 3 years ago when I was still a financial journalist. He's really talented and everyone keeps saying how well he's doing. But I know he's secretly been struggling because I saw his wife Judy at the hairdresser's last week and she told me. Becky, Luke's frowning, I haven't got time for this. But it'll be useful to you, I say quickly. When I was at Barney's, I learned all about Barney's. Becky, I run a PR company, not a fashion store. But I've had these ideas, Becky. Luke interrupts impatiently. Right now, my priority is bringing in new business, nothing else. I don't have time for your ideas, okay? He stuffs the folder into his briefcase without opening it. I'll look at it sometime. I sit down, feeling a bit crestfallen. The doorbell rings, and I look up in surprise. Oh, maybe that's Jess early. No, it'll be Gary, says Luke. I'll let him in. Gary is Luke's second in command. He ran the London office while we were living in New York and on our honeymoon, and he and Luke get on really well. He even ended up being Luke's best man at our wedding. Kind of. The wedding's a bit of a long story, actually. What's Gary doing here? I ask in surprise. I told him to meet me here, replies Luke, heading out to the entry phone and buzzing it. We have some work to do on the pitch, then we're planning to go to lunch. Oh, right, I say, trying to hide my disappointment. I was really looking forward to spending a bit of time with Luke today, before Jess arrives. He's so busy these days. He hasn't been home once before 8 all week, and last night he didn't arrive back until 11. I know they're working hard at the moment, and I know the Arcodis pitch is important, but still. For months and months, Luke and I were together 24 hours a day, and now I hardly ever see him. Maybe I could help with the pitch, I suggest. I could join the team. I don't think so, Luke says without even looking up. There must be something I could do, I say, leaning forward eagerly. Luke, I really want to help the company. I'll do anything. It's all pretty much under control, says Luke, but thanks. Do you want to come out to lunch with us? He adds kindly. You're welcome if you don't mind a bit of shop talk. No, it's fine, I give a little shrug. Have fun. Hi, Gary, I add as he appears at the front door. Hi, Becky, Gary says cheerfully. He is tall and well-built with a broad, amiable face. He's worked for Luke for 3 years, and I don't think I've ever seen him look angry or even rattled. Come in, Luke says, and ushers him into the study. The door closes, and almost immediately it opens again, and Luke looks out. Becky, if the phone rings, could you answer it? I don't want to be disturbed for a few minutes. No problem, I say brightly. Answering the phone is not what I meant by helping the company. I wander down the corridor toward the sitting room, feeling deflated. I'm an intelligent, creative person. I could be a help. I know I could. I mean, Luke and I are supposed to be a partnership. We're supposed to do things together. The phone rings and I jump. Maybe it's Jess. Maybe she's here. I hurry to the receiver and pick it up. Hello. Mrs. Brandon, comes a man's raspy voice. Yes, it's Nathan Temple here. My mind is totally blank. Nathan? I don't know any Nathans. You may recall we met in Milan a few weeks ago. Oh my gosh, it's the man from the shop. I should have recognized his voice straight away. Hello, of course I remember. How are you? I'm well, thank you, he says. And you? Enjoying your new bag? I absolutely love it. I can't hide my enthusiasm. It's changed my whole life. Thank you so much again for what you did. It was my pleasure. Down the line, I hear the click of his lighter. I'm not entirely sure what to say next. Maybe I could buy you lunch, I blurt out as a proper thank you. Anywhere you like. It's not necessary, he sounds amused. Besides which, my doctor has put me on a diet. Oh, right, that's a shame. However, since you mention it, as you said yourself in Milan, one good turn deserves another. Absolutely. I really owe you one. If there's anything I can do, anything at all. I was thinking of your husband, Luke. I was hoping he might do me a small favor. He'd love to, I exclaimed. I know he would. Is he there? Might I have a quick word? If I get Luke to the phone now, I'll have to disturb him and explain who Nathan Temple is and how I met him and about the angel bag. You know what, I say, turning back to the phone. He's not in right now, I'm afraid. But can I take a message? The situation is this. I'm opening a 5-star hotel on the island of Cyprus. It's going to be a top-of-the-range resort, and I'm planning a big launch. Celebrity party, press coverage. I'd very much like your husband to be involved. A celebrity party in Cyprus? A 5-star hotel? Oh my gosh, this would be so wonderful for Luke's business. Forget about our quotas. The Nathan Temple account could be fab. I'm sure he'd love to, I say, regaining my voice. Sounds fantastic. Your husband's very talented. He has a very classy reputation, which is what we want. Well, I can't help but glow with pride. He is pretty good at what he does. I gather he specializes in financial institutions, though. Would a hotel launch be a problem? My heart starts thudding. I can't let this opportunity slip away. I have to sell branding communications. Not at all, I say smoothly. We at Branding Communications are skilled in all areas of public relations, from finance to big business to hotels. Versatility is our motto. Ah, he sounds pleased. That's what I was hoping to hear. I attended a party run by your husband last year as a guest of a guest. A property investment launch in New York. Very slick affair. And a huge media attendance. I was impressed. In that amazing brownstone, I chime in, delighted. With the marble staircase and the champagne cocktails. I was there too. I nearly add that I was the one in a backless red Donna Karan dress, but stopped myself in time. You work for the company then? He sounds interested. I have a small consultancy role, I say, crossing my fingers. Specializing in strategy, and by sheer chance, one of our current strategies is an expansion into the 5-star travel arena. Then it looks like we might be able to help one another out, says Nathan Temple. Perhaps we could set up a meeting this week? As I say, we're very anxious to have your husband Luke on board. Please, Mr. Temple, I say in my most charming manner. You did me a favor. Now this is my chance to repay it. My husband would be delighted to help you. In fact, he'll make it a priority. I beam at the phone. Let me take your number and I'll get Luke to call you later today. I look forward to your husband's call. Nice talking to you again, Mrs. Brandon. Please call me Becky. As I replace the receiver, I'm grinning from ear to ear. There's Luke and Gary slaving away over their pitch, and meanwhile, I have snaffled them a fabulous new client without even trying. And not even some dreary old bank. A 5-star hotel in Cyprus. A huge, prestigious job. Just then, the study door opens and Luke comes out holding a folder. As he picks up his briefcase, he glances over and gives me a distracted smile. "All right, Becky, we're off to lunch. Who is that on the phone?" "Oh, just a friend of mine," I say carelessly. "By the way, Luke, maybe I will come along to lunch after all." "Okay," he says, "great." When he hears how I've been wheeling and dealing with top business magnates on his behalf, he'll be totally gobsmacked. And then maybe he'll see just how much of a help I can be to him. Just wait till I tell them the news. Just wait. All the way to the restaurant, I'm hugging my secret. Honestly, Luke should hire me. I should become some kind of ambassador for the company. A chance meeting in Milan, and this is what results. A brand new client for the company. Luke's going to be so impressed when I tell him the news. He'll probably order a bottle of champagne straight away. This could be an amazing new business opportunity for him. He could start a whole division devoted to 5-star hotels and spas, brand and communications, luxury travel. And I could be part of it, maybe. I could be the one who tests markets the spas. So, still on the dinner we're hosting, Gary is saying to Luke as we sit down, "You've sorted out the gifts?" "Yep," says Luke, "they're at home." "What about transport? Have we organized cars for them?" "I'll get someone onto it." Gary makes a careful note on a little pocket pad, then looks up at me. "Sorry, Becky, this must be boring. You know this pitch is pretty important to us." "That's okay," I say with a demure smile. "Luke was just telling me how winning your business is your number one priority right now." "Absolutely," Gary nods. "I expect it's quite hard work bringing in new clients," I add innocently. "Yes, it can be," Gary smiles. I so want to blurt out the whole story, but I must time my revelation perfectly. As the waiter pours mineral water for Luke and Gary, I suddenly notice 3 girls at a nearby table, nudging each other and pointing at my angel bag. Trying to hide my delight, I casually adjust the bag on my chair so that the embossed angel and Dante are clearly visible. It's just amazing. Everywhere I go, people notice this bag. It is the best thing I have ever bought, ever. And now it's brought Luke new business too. It's a lucky charm. "Cheers," I say, lifting my glass as the waiter retreats. "To new clients." "New clients," Luke and Gary echo in unison. Gary takes a sip of water, then turns to Luke. "So, Luke." "Just regarding the last proposal we're making, I spoke to Sam Church the other day." I can't wait a moment longer. I have to tell them. "Speaking of churches," I interrupt in bright tones. There's a startled pause. "Becky, we weren't talking about churches," says Luke. "Yes, you were, kind of." Luke looks bemused. Okay, I could have managed this a little more smoothly, but never mind. "So, speaking of churches," I press on, "and, religious buildings in general, I suppose you've heard of a man called Nathan Temple, haven't you?" I look from Luke to Gary, unable to hide my elation. Both men look back at me curiously. "Of course I've heard of Nathan Temple," says Luke. "Ha, I knew it. He's a pretty big player, right? Pretty important." I raise my eyebrows in a cryptic manner. "He's probably someone you'd really like to network with. Maybe even get as a new client?" "Hardly," Luke wrinkles his nose, as though he's found a worm in his apple. I pause uncertainly. What's hardly supposed to mean? "Of course you would," I persist. "He'd be a great client." "No, Becky, he wouldn't. Luke takes a sip of water. Sorry, Gary, what were you saying? This is not going according to plan. I had the whole conversation mapped out in my head. Luke was going to say I'd adore Nathan Temple as a client, of course. But how does one get to him? Then Gary was going to sigh and say, no one can get to Nathan Temple. So I've spoken to Sam Church, resumes Gary, taking some papers out of his briefcase, and he gave me these. Have a look. Wait, I interrupt, trying to haul the conversation back on track. So, Luke, why wouldn't you want Nathan Temple as a client? I mean, he's rich, he's famous. Infamous, more like, Gary puts in with a grin. You do know who Nathan Temple is, says Luke. Of course I do, I say. He's a top businessman and, a high-class hotelier. Becky. He runs the seediest chain of motels in the land. My smile freezes on my face. What? I manage at last. Not anymore, says Gary. Be fair. Then he used to, says Luke. That's how he made his money. Value motels. Waterbeds thrown in for free. And whatever other business went on behind closed doors. He pulls a disdainful face and pours out more water. You've heard the rumor he's considering buying up the Daily World? Asks Gary. Yes, I did, Luke says with a grimace. Spare us. You know he has a conviction for grievous bodily harm? My head is spinning. A conviction? But he seemed so nice. He was so sweet. He got me an angel bag. He got me my angel bag. Apparently he's reformed, Gary shrugs, become a new person. So he says. A new person, says Luke dismissively. Gary, he's little more than a gangster. I nearly dropped my glass on the floor. I owe a favor to a gangster? Gangster's a little harsh, says Gary, amused. That was years ago. These people never change, says Luke firmly. You're a hard man, Luke, Gary says with a laugh. Then he suddenly spots my face. Becky, are you okay? Fine, I say shrilly, and take a gulp of water. Lovely. I feel hot and cold all over. This is not going to plan. This is not going remotely to plan. My first brilliant networking triumph. The first big client I woo for Brandon Communications. And he turns out to be a motel king with a criminal conviction. But how was I supposed to know how? He seemed so charming. He was so well dressed. And now I've said Luke will work for him. Kind of. I mean, didn't actually promise anything, did I? Oh gosh. I can hear my own voice now, gaily chirping. My husband would be delighted to do it. In fact, he'll make it a priority. I gaze at my menu, trying to stay calm. Okay, it's obvious what I have to do. I have to tell Luke. Yes, just confess the whole thing. Milan, the angel bag, the phone call today, everything. It's the grown-up option. I glance at Luke's taut face as he reads through his paperwork and feel a spasm of fear. I just can't. It's funny you should have mentioned Nathan Temple, Becky, says Gary, sipping his water. I haven't even told you this yet, Luke, but he's been in touch with us about doing the PR for some new hotel. I stare at Gary's genial face and feel a huge wave of relief. Of course they would have made an official approach, too. Of course. I've been worrying about nothing. Luke will do the job and I'll be quits with Nathan Temple and everything will be fine. I take it we'll decline, Gary adds. Decline? My head jerks up. Can you think what it would do to our reputation? Luke says with a short laugh. Turn down the job, but tactfully, he adds with a frown. If he's buying the Daily World, we don't want to offend him. Don't decline, I blurt out before I can stop myself. Both men turn to me in surprise, and I force a lighthearted laugh. I mean, shouldn't you look at both sides of the argument before you make your decision? Becky, as far as I'm concerned, there is only one argument, says Luke crisply. Nathan Temple is not the sort of character I want associated with my company. He opens his menu. We should order. Don't you think that's a bit judgmental? I say desperately. Cast's not the first clout and all that. What? Luke sounds astonished. It's in the Bible. Luke gives me a look. Do you mean stone? He says. Maybe he's right, but stone, clout, what's the difference? The point is, Luke interrupts. Brandon Communications does not want to be associated with someone who has a criminal record, let alone the rest of it. But that's so narrow-minded. Most people have probably got a criminal record these days. I gesture widely with my arms. I mean, who sitting around this table does not have some kind of criminal record? There's a short silence. Well, says Luke, I don't. Gary doesn't. You don't. I look at him taken aback. I suppose he's right. I don't. That's quite a surprise, actually. I'd always thought of myself as living on the edge. Even so, Becky, what's brought this on, anyway? Luke frowns. Why are you so obsessed with Nathan Temple? I'm not obsessed, I say hurriedly. I'm just interested in your clients and prospective clients. Well, he's not my client, nor my prospective client, says Luke with finality. And neither will he ever be. Right. Well, that's pretty clear. We all study our menus. At least the other two are studying their menus. I'm pretending to study mine while my mind goes skittering round and round. So I can't persuade Luke, so I'll just have to manage the situation. This is what supportive wives do. They deal with problems discreetly and efficiently. I bet Hillary Clinton's done this kind of thing millions of times. It'll be fine. I'll simply phone up Nathan Temple, thank him for his kind offer, and say that unfortunately Luke's really, really busy. No, I'll say he tried to call but no one answered. Becky, are you okay? I look up to see both men looking at me with concern. Abruptly, I realize I'm tapping the table harder and harder with one of Gary's pencils. I'm great, I say, and quickly put it down. Okay, I have a plan. What I will do is, I will say that Luke is ill. Yes, no one can argue with that. So as soon as we get home and Luke is closeted with Gary in the study, I hurry to the phone in our bedroom. I kick the bedroom door shut and quickly dial the number Nathan Temple gave me. To my huge relief, it clicks straight into voicemail. And now that I'm listening properly, he sounds exactly like a motel king with a criminal past. Why on earth didn't I hear it before? I must be deaf or something. The beep goes and I jump in fright. Hi, I say, trying to keep my voice light and easy. This is a message for Mr. Temple. It's Becky Brandon here. I told my husband all about your hotel, and he thought it sounded fab, but I'm afraid he's not very well at the moment, so he won't be able to do the launch after all, which is a real shame. Anyway, I hope you find someone else. Bye. I put the phone down and sink onto the bed, my heart thumping. All this stress is going to give me a heart attack. Maybe I should try some of my yoga exercises from Sri Lanka. I cross my legs and close my eyes. Breathe in, breathe out. I am a radiant being of white light. My body is a temple. Temple, oh gosh. Becky. Luke opens the door and I nearly fall off the bed in terror. What? What is it? What's wrong? Luke looks alarmed. Becky, are you hyperventilating? Just doing a bit of relaxing yoga, I say breathlessly. I'm fine. Well, I just wanted to tell you. Luke smiles. Jess is here. Chapter 13. She's coming up in the lift, says Luke, opening the front door. Who are you on the phone with, by the way? Nobody, I say quickly. I was just, checking the time. Gradually, my pulse is slowing down. It's fine, I tell myself firmly. It's done. Everything's sorted. I can hear the lift moving down below. Jess is on her way. Quickly, I grab my crib sheet and skim it one last time. Border collies, hates avocados. Math teacher was called Mr. Lewis. Becky had put that away before she arrived, says Luke, looking amused. Oh, right. I stuff it into my pocket and take a few deep breaths to prepare myself. Listen, Becky, says Luke, watching me. Before she arrives, I sincerely hope you two hit it off this time. But you are keeping a sense of proportion. You don't have all your hopes pinned on this visit, do you? Really, Luke, I say kindly. Don't you know me better than that? Of course I have all my hopes pinned on this visit, because I know it's going to work out. Things will be different this time. For a start, we won't do anything that Jess doesn't want to do. I'm just going to follow her lead. And the other thing I must remember is a tip that Luke gave me. He said it was great that I was so friendly toward Jess, but that she's quite reserved and maybe great big hugs weren't her style. So he suggested I should be a bit more collected, just until we know each other better, which is a fair point. From the hall comes the noise of the lift getting closer. Why is this lift so slow? And then suddenly the doors are opening to reveal Jess in jeans and a gray t-shirt, holding her rucksack. Hi, I cry, running forward. Welcome. We can do whatever you want this weekend. Anything. Just name it. You're the boss. Jess doesn't move. In fact, she seems frozen to the spot. Hi, Jess, Luke says more calmly. Welcome to London. Come on in, I spread my arms. Make yourself at home. No avocados here. Jess stares at me uncertainly, then glances at the buttons of the lift, almost like she wants to go back down again. Let me take your bag, says Luke. How was your conference? He ushers Jess into the flat, and she looks around warily. It was good, thanks, she says. Hi, Becky. Hi, it's so great you're here. I'll show you your room. I open the door of the guest room proudly, waiting for her to comment on the cave picture or potholing monthly, but she says nothing, just thanks, as Luke puts down her bag. Look, I point out it's a cave. Yes, says Jess, looking slightly bewildered. There's a pause, and I feel a tiny spasm of alarm. Let's all have a drink, I exclaim. Let's open a bottle of champagne. Becky, it's only 4:00, says Luke. Maybe a cup of tea would be more appropriate. I'd love a cup of tea, says Jess. Tea, then, I say. Excellent idea. I lead the way into the kitchen, and Jess follows, peering all around the flat. Nice place, she says. Becky's done a great job on it, Luke says pleasantly. You should have seen it this time last week. We'd had a load of purchases delivered from our honeymoon, and you could not move for the stuff. He shakes his head. I still don't know how you did it, Becky. Oh, you know, I say modestly, just a question of organization. I'm switching on the kettle as Gary comes into the kitchen. This is my associate Gary, says Luke. This is Becky's half-sister Jess. She comes from Cumbria. Ah, says Gary as he shakes Jess's hand. I know Cumbria. Beautiful part of the country. Whereabouts do you live? "A village called Scully," replies Jess. "It's pretty rural, very different from this." "I've been to Scully," says Gary, "years ago. Isn't there a famous walk nearby?" "You probably mean Scully Pike." "That's it. We tried to climb it, but the weather took a turn. Nearly fell off the bloody thing." "It can be dangerous," says Jess. "You have to know what you're doing. Idiots come up from the south and get in all sorts of trouble." "That's me," Gary says cheerfully, "but it's worth it for the scenery. Those dry stone walls are spectacular," he adds to Luke, "like works of art. Miles and miles of them, strung out across the countryside." I'm listening to the conversation in total fascination. I'd love to get to know a bit of rural England a bit better. I'd love to see some dry stone walls. I mean, all I know is London and Surrey, which is practically London anyway. "We should buy a cottage in Cumbria," I say, enthusiastically, "in Jess's village. Then we could see you all the time," I add to Jess. "Wouldn't that be great?" There's quite a long silence. "Yes," says Jess at last. "Great." "I don't think we'll be buying any cottages in the near future," says Luke. "We're on a budget, remember?" "Yes, I know," I retort, "and I'm sticking to it, aren't I?" "Well, yes," says Luke, "incredibly you are." He looks at the tin of Fortnum biscuits on the counter. "Although, quite frankly, I have no idea how you're managing it." He opens the fridge. "Look at all this. Stuffed olives, smoked lobster, and this is supposed to be on a budget?" I can't help feeling a little glow of pride. All that food is courtesy of selling those Tiffany clocks. I was so delighted I went straight out and bought a big hamper full of all Luke's favorite things. "Just a question of good household management," I say nonchalantly. Luke gives me a suspicious look, then turns to Gary. "We must get on." The two men head out of the kitchen, and I'm left alone with Jess. I perch on a bar stool opposite her. "So," I say, "what would you like to do?" "I'm easy," Jess says with a shrug. "It's up to you, totally." "I don't really mind." Jess sips her tea. The kitchen is still and quiet, apart from the tap dripping slowly into the sink, which is fine. This is just one of those companionable, quiet moments you can have with members of your family. In fact, it shows we're easy with each other. It's not remotely awkward or anything. "Oh gosh, speak, please." "I'd like to do some weight training," says Jess suddenly. "I normally work out every day, but I haven't had time this week." "Right," I say in delight. "That's a brilliant idea. I'll do it too." "Really?" Jess looks surprised. "Of course." I take a final sip of tea, then put my cup down. "I'll just go and get ready." What a marvelous idea. Doing exercise together will be totally bonding. We can go to Taylor's Health Club around the corner, where I'm a gold member, do a bit of a workout, and then head to the juice bar. I know the juice bar will be open because I've been there loads of times before at about this hour of the day. And I should think the gym bit will be open too, downstairs. Or is it upstairs? Anyway, wherever it is. I yank open my wardrobe doors and pull out my drawer full of gym kit. I could wear my juicy tracksuit, except it might get too hot. Or that really cool pink top, except I've seen a girl in the juice bar wearing the same exact one. At last I select some black leggings with retro piping up the sides, plus a white t-shirt and my fab high-tech trainers that I got in the States. They cost quite a lot, but then as the leaflet points out, they are biomechanically balanced with a dual density midsole. Plus, their advanced engineering means you can take them seamlessly from the marathon track to the outdoor terrain of the trail hike. I quickly put on the whole outfit, tie up my hair in a ponytail, and add my cool Adidas sports watch, parentheses, which just shows how wrong Luke is. I knew I would need a sports watch one day, close parentheses. I hurry to the guest room and knock on the door. "Hi." Come in. Jess's voice sounds muffled and kind of weird. Cautiously, I push open the door. She's changed into old gray shorts and a cropped t-shirt, and to my surprise is lying on the floor. Doing sit-ups, I suddenly realize, as her entire torso rises off the ground. Blimey, she's quite good at them. And I've never seen such a muscled stomach, except in a Cindy Crawford video. Now she's doing those twisty ones that I've never been able to manage more than about 3 of. So, shall we go, I say. Go where? Jess says without missing a beat. To the gym. I thought you wanted to. I trail off as she starts raising her legs off the ground too. Okay, now that's just showing off. I don't need to go anywhere. I can work out here. Here? Is she serious? But there aren't any mirrors. There isn't any MTV. There isn't a juice bar. My gaze falls on a snake-like scar at the top of Jess's shin. I'm about to ask how she did it when she catches me looking and flushes red. Maybe she's sensitive. I'd better not mention it. Don't you need weights, I say instead. I've got them. She reaches in her rucksack and pulls out 2 old water bottles filled with sand. Those are her weights. I wouldn't go near a gym, she says, starting to raise the bottles above her head. Waste of money. Half the people who join gyms never go anyway. They buy expensive outfits and never even wear them. What's the point in that? Oh, absolutely, I say quickly. I totally agree. Jess stops and then adjusts her grip on one of the weights. Then her eye falls on the back of my leggings. What's that, she says. I reach around with my hand. Damn, it's the price tag hanging out. Nothing, I say, hastily tucking it in. I'll just go and get some weights of my own. As I return from the kitchen with 2 bottles of Evian, I can't help feeling a bit disconcerted. This isn't exactly what I had in mind. I'd pictured the 2 of us running effortlessly along on adjacent machines, with some upbeat song playing and the spotlights making our hair look all shiny. Anyway, never mind. So I'll follow you, shall I say, joining Jess on the carpet. I'm going on to some biceps work, says Jess. It's pretty straightforward. She starts raising her arms up and down, and I copy what she's doing. Gosh, she exercises quite fast, doesn't she? Shall I put on some music, I say, after a few moments. I don't need music, says Jess. No, neither do I say quickly. My arms are starting to ache. This can't be good for them, surely. I glance at Jess, but she's steadfastly pumping away. Casually, I lean down, pretending to adjust my shoelace. Then, suddenly, I have a thought. I won't be a moment, I say, and hurry out to the kitchen again. A few moments later, I'm back holding 2 slim silver bottles. Here's a health drink, I say, proudly holding one out to Jess. So you can rebalance. So I can what? Jess puts down her weights with a frown. It says on the bottle. Look, I explain. It has a unique blend of life-enhancing vitamins and herbs. Jess is scanning the label. It's just sugar and water. Look, water, glucose syrup. She puts it down. No thanks. But it's got special properties, I say in surprise. It rebalances, revitalizes, and moisturizes your skin from the inside. How does it do that? I don't know. How much is it? Jess picks up the bottle again and looks at the price tag. It's £2.95. She seems totally scandalized. £3 for some sugar and water. You could buy a 20-kilo sack of potatoes for that. But I don't want a 20-kilo sack of potatoes. Then you should, says Jess. Potatoes are one of the most nutritious, cost-effective foods available. She eyes me reprovingly. People underestimate them. But did you know a potato in its skin has more vitamin C than an orange? No, I say nervously. No, I didn't. You could live off potatoes and milk. She starts hefting her weights again. You get practically every nutrient the body needs just from those two. Right, I say, that's really good. I'll just go and have a shower. As I close the door of the bedroom, I feel totally bewildered. What was all that about potatoes? I'm not even sure how we got onto the subject. I head down the corridor and see Luke through the door of the study, getting something down from a shelf. You look very sportive, he says, glancing up. Going to the gym? Jess and I have been working out together, I reply, flicking my ponytail. Excellent, so you're getting along? We're getting along brilliantly, I say, and carry on along the corridor. Which I think is true. Although, to be honest, it's a bit hard to tell with Jess. She doesn't exactly overwhelm you. But anyway, so far so good. And now we've done our workout, we can reward ourselves. What we need is a few drinks and a bit of a party atmosphere and some music. Then we'll really loosen up. As I shower, I start to feel excited. You cannot beat a good girl's night in. Suze and I had so many great evenings when we were living together. There was the time Suze had been dumped by her awful boyfriend, and we spent the whole evening sending off forms in his name to receive impotence cures. There was the time we made mint juleps and both nearly got alcohol poisoning. There was the time we decided to become redheads and then had to find a 24-hour hairdresser. And then there were lots of evenings when nothing special happened, except we watched movies and ate pizza and talked and laughed and had a good time. I pause halfway through toweling my hair. It's weird not speaking to Suze anymore. She hasn't called me once since I told her about having a sister, nor have I called her. My chin stiffens, but that's what happens in life. People find new friends and new sisters. It's called natural selection. And Jess and I will have a fab time tonight, better than I ever had with Suze. I throw on some jeans and a t-shirt with sisterhood emblazoned in silver, then turn on my dressing table light bulbs and get out every single item of makeup I own. I rummage in a box under the bed and retrieve my 3 wigs, 4 hair pieces, false eyelashes, spray glitter, and temporary tattoos. Then I open up my special cupboard where all my shoes are stored. I love my shoe cupboard. I love my shoe cupboard. It is the best thing in the entire world. All my shoes are arranged in gorgeous rows, and there's even a built-in light so you can see them properly. I look with satisfaction along the rows of L.K. Bennett's and Jimmy Choo's for a few moments, then choose all the most fun, spangly high-heeled ones and toss them onto the bed, ready for the makeovers. Next, the sitting room. I spread all my favorite videos out in a fan on the floor and add piles of magazines. Back in the kitchen, I empty crisps, popcorn, and sweets into bowls, light some candles, and get out the champagne. As I look around the kitchen, the granite is gleaming and the stainless steel sparkles in the light. It looks so pretty. It's nearly 6 o'clock. Jess must have finished working out by now. I head to the guest room and tap on the door. Jess, I say tentatively. No answer. She must be in the shower or something. But as I head to the kitchen, I suddenly hear her voice coming from the study. That's weird. I gently push open the door, and there's Jess, sitting at the computer with Luke and Gary on either side of her, peering at the screen where I can see Luke's head, talking against a green background. You can superimpose the graphics like this, she's saying, tapping at the keyboard, and synchronize with the soundtrack. I can do it for you if you like. What's going on? I say in surprise. It's our new corporate CD, says Luke. The guys who did it had no bloody idea. The whole thing needs re-editing. Your sister is a real whiz at this software, says Gary. I just know it backwards, says Jess, clicking rapidly. The whole university went over to it a year ago. and I'm a bit of a techie. I like this kind of stuff. That's fantastic, I say. I hover at the door for a few moments as Jess taps at the keyboard some more. So, do you want to come and have a drink? I've got everything ready for our girls' night in. I'm sorry, says Luke, looking at me in sudden realization. I'm keeping you, Jess. We'll be okay from here, but thanks. Thanks, echoes Gary. They're both looking at her with such admiration, I can't help but feel a tiny bit jealous. Come on, I say brightly. There's champagne waiting. Thanks again, Jess, says Luke. You're a star. No problem. Jess gets up and follows me out of the room. Men, I say as soon as I'm out of earshot. All they think about is computers. I like computers, says Jess. Me too, I backtrack hastily. Absolutely. Which is kind of true. I mean, I love eBay. As I lead Jess into the kitchen, I feel a rush of excitement. I reach for the CD remote control, and a moment later, Sister Sledge belts through the kitchen speakers at top volume. I bought the album especially for this. We are family, I sing along. While taking the champagne bottle out of its ice bucket, I pop the cork. Have some champagne. I'd prefer something soft if you've got it, she says, looking at the bottle without enthusiasm. Champagne gives me a headache. Oh, I say, halted. Well, okay. I pour her out a glass of Aqua Libra and quickly put the bottle away before she can see the price and start talking about potatoes again. I thought tonight we could just relax, I say, over the music, just enjoy ourselves, talk, have fun. Sounds good, says Jess, nodding. So, my idea was we could do makeovers. Makeovers? Jess looks as though she's never even heard the word. Come with me, I pull her along the corridor and into the bedroom. We can do each other's makeup, try on all different clothes. I could blow dry her hair if you like. I don't know. Jess's shoulders are hunched uncomfortably. It'll be fun. Look, sit down in front of the mirror. Try on one of my wigs. I pull the blonde Marilyn one onto my own head. Isn't that fab? Jess flinches. I hate mirrors, she says, and I never wear makeup. I stare at her, a bit nonplussed. How can anyone hate mirrors? Besides, I'm happy with the way I look, she adds a bit defensively. Of course you are, I say in astonishment. That's not the point. It's just supposed to be, fun. Jess doesn't reply. But anyway, I say, trying to hide my deflation. It was just an idea. We don't have to do it. I take off the Marilyn wig and switch off the dressing table light bulbs. The room is immediately plunged into semi-gloom, which is kind of how I feel. I was really looking forward to doing Jess up. I had all these great ideas for her eyes. But never mind, we can still have a good time. So, shall we watch a movie? I suggest. Sure, Jess nods. And anyway, a movie is better. Everyone likes movies. Plus, we can chat during all the boring bits. I lead the way into the sitting room and gesture enthusiastically at the fanned-out videos on the floor. Take your pick, they're all here. Right, Jess starts looking through the videos. Are you a 4 Weddings girl, I prompt her, or Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally? I don't mind, says Jess at last, looking up. You choose. You must have a favorite. These aren't really my kind of thing, says Jess with a little grimace. I prefer something a bit more heavyweight. Oh, I say. Oh, right. Well, I can go and get a different video from the rental shop if you like. It won't take me 5 minutes. Tell me what you like to watch. It's okay, I don't want to put you out, she shrugs. Let's just watch one of these. Don't be silly, I say with a laugh. Not if you don't like any of them. We can do something else, no problem. I smile at Jess, but inside I'm a bit disquieted. I don't quite know what else to suggest. My backup plan was the Dancing Queen karaoke tape, but something tells me she won't want to do that either. Plus, we're not wearing the wigs. Why is everything so awkward? I thought we'd be laughing hysterically together by now. I thought we'd be having fun. Oh gosh, we can't just sit here in silence all night. I'm going to come clean. Look, Jess, I say, leaning forward. I want to do whatever you want to do, but you'll have to guide me, so be honest. Suppose I hadn't invited you here for the weekend. What would you be doing right now? Well, Jess thinks for a moment. I was supposed to be at an environmental meeting this evening. I'm an activist for a local group. We raise awareness, organize pickets and protest marches, that kind of thing. Well, let's do that, I say eagerly. Let's organize a picket. It'd be fun. I could make some banners. Jess looks nonplussed. A picket of what? I don't mind anything. You're the guest, you choose. Jess is just staring at me in disbelief. You don't just organize pickets. You have to start with the issues, with the environmental concerns. They're not supposed to be fun. Okay, I say hastily, let's forget the picket. How about if you hadn't been at the meeting? What would you be doing now? And whatever it is, we'll do it. Together. Jess frowns in thought, and I watch her face with hope and a sudden curiosity. For the first time, I feel like I'm actually going to learn something about my sister. I'd probably be doing my accounts, she says at last. In fact, I brought them with me in case I had time. Her accounts on a Friday night. Her accounts. Right, I manage at last. Fab. Well, then, let's do our accounts. Okay, this is fine. This is good. We're both sitting in the kitchen doing our accounts. At least, Jess is doing her accounts. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. I've written accounts at the top of a sheet of paper and underlined it twice. Every so often, Jess glances up and I quickly scribble something down just to look like I'm into it. So far, my page reads 20 pounds, budget, 200 million pounds. Hello, my name is Becky. Jess is frowning over a pile of what look like bank statements, leafing backwards and forwards, and consulting a small bank book. Is something wrong? I say sympathetically. I'm just tracking down a bit of lost money, she says. Maybe it's in one of my other cash books. She gets up. I'll be back in a moment. As she leaves the kitchen, I take a sip of champagne and glance toward the pile of bank statements. Obviously, I'm not going to look at them or anything. They're just as private property, and I respect that. It's none of my business, none at all. The only thing is, my leg is feeling itchy. It genuinely is. I lean over to scratch it, then casually lean a bit farther, and a bit more, until I can glimpse the bottom figure on the top statement. 30,002 pounds. I hastily sit up again, nearly knocking over my champagne glass. 30,000 pounds? 30,000 pounds? That's a bigger overdraft than I've ever had, ever. Now it's all starting to make sense. It's falling into place. No wonder she makes her own weights. No wonder she takes her coffee flask everywhere. She's probably on an economy drive, just like I went on once. She's probably read Controlling Your Cash by David E. Barton. Gosh, who would have thought it? As Jess comes back into the room, I can't help looking at her with new eyes. She picks up one of her bank statements and sighs heavily, and I feel a sudden wave of affection for her. How many times have I picked up a bank statement and sighed? We're kindred spirits. She's perusing the figures, still looking hassled. Well, no wonder, with a whopping great overdraft like that. Hi, I say with an understanding smile. Still trying to track down that bit of money? It must be here somewhere, she frowns, and turns to another statement. Gosh, maybe the bank's about to foreclose on her or something. I should give her a few tips. I lean forward confidingly. Banks are a nightmare, aren't they? They're useless, she replies, nodding. I sometimes wonder why they give people overdrafts if they're going to be so unsympathetic. I don't have an overdraft, she says, looking puzzled. But I stop as her words hit my brain. She doesn't have an overdraft, which means I feel a bit faint. That 30,000 pounds is actual money? Becky, are you okay? Jess gives me an odd look. I'm fine, I say in a strangled voice, and take several gulps of my champagne, trying to regain my cool. So you're not overdrawn. That's good. That's great. I've never been overdrawn in my life, Jess says firmly. I just don't think it's necessary. Anyone can stay within their means if they really want to. People who get into debt just lack self-control. There's no excuse. She begins to straighten her papers, then stops. But you used to be a financial journalist, didn't you? Your mom showed me some of your articles, so you must know all this. Her hazel eyes meet mine expectantly, and I feel a ridiculous tweak of anxiety. I'm suddenly not sure I want her to know the truth about my finances. Not the exact truth. Absolutely, I say, of course I do. It's all a question of planning ahead and careful management. Exactly, says Jess with approval. When any money comes in, the first thing I do is put half aside to save. Half? Even my dad doesn't save that much. Excellent, I manage. It's the only sensible option. I'm in total shock. When I was a financial journalist, I used to write articles telling people to save a percentage of their money all the time, but I never thought anyone would actually save half. Jess is looking at me with a fresh interest and maybe even affection. So you do the same, do you, Becky? For a few seconds, I can't quite formulate a response. Well, I say at last and clear my throat. Maybe not exactly half every month. I'm just the same. Her face relaxes into a smile. Sometimes I only manage 20%. 20%, I echo feebly. Well, never mind. You shouldn't feel bad. But I do, says Jess, leaning forward across the table. You must understand that. I've never seen her face look so open. Oh my gosh, we're bonding. 20% of what? Comes Luke's voice as he and Gary enter the kitchen, both looking in good spirits. Maybe now is the time to move the conversation on. Nothing, I say. We're just talking about finances, says Jess to Luke. We've both been doing our accounts. Your accounts, says Luke, giving a small shout of laughter. What accounts would those be, Becky? You know, I say brightly, my financial affairs and so forth. Ah, Luke nods, pulling a bottle of wine from the fridge. So have you called out the SWAT teams yet, and the Red Cross? What do you mean? Says Jess, puzzled. They're traditionally summoned to disaster areas, aren't they? He grins at me. So, I say quickly, trying to change the subject. Did anyone, see EastEnders last night? No one seems to hear me. But Becky was a financial journalist, says Jess, sounding disconcerted. Financial journalist? Luke looks highly amused. You want to hear a story about your sister's days as a financial journalist? No, I put in, she doesn't. The cash point card, says Gary, reminiscing. The cash point card. Luke slaps the table in delight. This was during Becky's illustrious career as a TV finance expert, he says to Jess. She was filming an item on the perils of cash point use. She put in her own cash point card to demonstrate. He starts laughing again, and it got swallowed on camera. They showed that the other night on a TV clip show, says Gary to me. The bit where you start bashing the machine with your shoe is a classic. Okay, he is off my Christmas card list. But why did it get swallowed, says Jess, looking perplexed. Were you overdrawn? Was Becky overdrawn? Luke says cheerfully, getting out some glasses. Is the Pope Catholic? Jess looks confused. But, Becky, you said you saved half your salary every month. Shit. I'm sorry. Luke slowly turns around. Becky said she did what? That's not exactly what I said, I say, flustered. I said it's a good idea to save half your salary, in principle. And it is. It's a very good idea. How about not running up huge credit card bills which you keep secret from your husband, says Luke. Is that a good idea in principle? Credit card bills, says Jess, looking at me in horror. So, you're in debt? Gosh, why does she have to say it like that? Debt. Like it's some kind of plague. Like I'm about to go to the workhouse. This is the 21st century. Everyone's in debt. You know how doctors make the worst patients, I say with a little laugh. Well, financial journalists make the worst. I wait for her to laugh too, or at least give a sympathetic smile, but she just looks appalled. This whole exchange is beginning to wrinkle. Okay, so I may have had the odd debt in my time, but she doesn't have to look so disapproving. By the way, Jess, says Gary, we've run into a tiny glitch with that program. Really? Jess looks up. I'll come and have a look if you like. Are you sure? Gary glances at me. We don't want to interrupt your evening. It's fine, I say, waving my hand. Go ahead. When they've all disappeared into the study, I wander along the corridor and into the sitting room. I slump down on the sofa and stare miserably at the blank television. Jess and I haven't bonded one bit. We don't get on. That's the truth. Suddenly, I'm weary with disappointment. I've been trying so hard ever since she arrived. I've been making every effort. I bought the picture of the cave, and I prepared all those yummy snacks, and I tried to plan the best evening I could, and she hasn't even tried to join in. Okay, so maybe she didn't like any of my films, but she could have pretended, couldn't she? If it was me, I would have pretended. Why does she have to be such a misery? Why can't she just have fun? As I gulp my champagne, resentment is growing inside me. How can she hate shopping? How? She's got 30,000 pounds, for gosh sakes. She should adore shopping. And another thing, why is she so obsessed with potatoes? What's so great about bloody potatoes? I just don't understand her. She's my sister, but I don't understand one single thing about her. Luke was right all along. It is all nurture. Nature doesn't come into it. I start dejectedly leafing through the videos. Maybe I'll watch one of them on my own and have some popcorn and some of those yummy Thornton's chocolates. Jess probably doesn't even eat chocolate unless it's chocolate she's made herself out of potatoes. Well, good for her. I'm going to stuff my face and watch a nice movie. I'm just reaching for Pretty Woman when the phone rings. Hello, I say, pick me up. Hello, Bex, comes a familiar high-pitched voice. It's me. Suze! I feel a huge rush of joy. Oh my gosh, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Are you okay? I'm fine. Suddenly, with all my heart, I wish Suze were here. Like the old days in Fulham. I miss her so much. So how was the spa with Lulu? I asked, trying to sound casual. It was fine, she says after a pause. You know, kind of a bit different, but fun. Good. There's an awkward silence. And I was wondering how it's all going with your new sister, Sue says hesitantly. And you, are you really good friends? I mean, not and you. Are you really good friends? I can't admit the truth to Suze. I just can't admit the whole thing's been a failure. That she goes on spa trips with her new friend. But I can't even manage one evening with my own sister. It's great, I say. Couldn't be better. We're getting on so well. Really, says Sue, sounding a bit crushed. Absolutely. In fact, we're having a girls' night in together right now. Watching movies, having a laugh, just hanging out, you know. What are you watching? Says Sue at once. I look at the blank TV screen. Pretty Woman. I love Pretty Woman, Sue says longingly. The scene in the shop. I know, that is just the best scene ever. In the end, when Richard Gere climbs up, her voice is tumbling out with enthusiasm. Oh gosh, I want to watch it right now. Me too, I say without thinking. I want to watch the rest of it. Oh, Sue says in a different voice. I must be interrupting you. Sorry. No, I say quickly. It doesn't matter. I'll go. You must want to get back to your sister. It sounds like you're having an amazing time. Her voice is wistful. You two must have so much to talk about. Yes, I say, looking around the empty room. Yes, we certainly do. Well, I'll see you sometime, she says. Bye, Bex. Bye, I say, my throat suddenly thick. Wait, I want to cry out, don't go. But instead, I put down the receiver and stare into space. At the other end of the flat, I can hear Luke, Gary, and Jess all laughing about something. They've bonded with her. Great. It's just me who hasn't. And I had such huge hopes. I was so excited about having a sister. But I've done everything I can think of, and it's all failed. Jess and I are never going to be friends. Not in a million years. And the chapter ends with a letter from West Cumbria Bank, 45 Sterndale Street, Cogganwaith, Cumbria, to Ms. Jessica Bertram, 12 Hill Rise, Scully, Cumbria, CA 19-1BD, 16 May 2003. Dear Ms. Bertram, thank you for your letter. Having gone through your accounts in great detail, I can only concur that there is a discrepancy of 73 pence. I am deeply sorry for this error by the bank and have credited your savings account by this amount, backdated 3 months. I have also, as you request, added the missing interest. May I take this opportunity to commend you yet again on your meticulous and thoughtful approach to your finances. On a personal note, I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming Prudence Savers Group Cheese and Wine Evening, at which our head of personal accounts will be giving the keynote address, retightening the purse strings. Yours sincerely, Howard Shawcross, Customer Account Manager.